A lot of people, when they hear the term get rich quick, they think scam. The only scam, ladies and gentlemen, is someone having you to believe that you should get rich slow or not get rich at all. That's the real scam. Why? None of us have enough time to get rich slow. And it's for ambassadors of the kingdom. And ambassadors of the kingdom, those of you guys that don't know, the goal above all else is to show people that if you practice God's principles, you can participate in his promises. This is not a call about a particular company. It's not a call about a particular product or service. It's a call for those people who believe that they have purpose in life, those people who want to accomplish something, those people who want to go out there and impact lives, become the best version of themselves. You know, how many of you guys, when you meet your maker, when you finally meet God, how many of you want to be able to say that you achieved and reached your fullest potential? I know for me, that's something that inspires me. That's something that gets me fired up. I don't want to waste any ounce of potential. I want to become the very best version of myself. I want to grow each and every single day, each and every single month, each and every single year. And if you are the same way, man, just go ahead and type an AOTK in the chat, right? If you're the same way, go ahead and type an AOTK in the chat. This Saturday is going to be effective, not eternal. There's no reason to be here for hours, but I will be here with y'all for about 25 minutes. And I'm going to give you some things that I truly believe can help you. The last thing I would say is just partner with me for whoever you know that you want to see grow, somebody that you want to see flourish and thrive. Take this call and hit the share button if you're on Facebook. Take this call and send it to a couple of people if you're on Instagram. Take this Zoom link and text it out to some people who you want to see win. And we're going to get this thing started. So first things first, guys, those of you who did not know, this call has a very, very particular topic and purpose. And it is really going to be on the keys, okay, the keys to creating success now. So those of you guys that don't know as well, I will be switching back and forth between the slides and just talking to y'all. So if you want the slides, yes, it will be uploaded to YouTube. For now, if you want to screenshot the slide, if you need it, you can do that. You can take notes from it, whatever you want to do. But first things first is the keys to creating success now. So I will get into that. And the next thing I'll say before we get started, if you're watching the recording, like, comment, subscribe, share it with someone else, help us grow. Call is completely free, and we're here pretty much every single Saturday. So the first thing, guys, I want to talk to you about compressing time frames. Someone just write that down real quick. Type compressing time frames in the chat box rather than your notes. Can I tell you guys that most people, when they hear the term get rich quick, they think scam. Follow me. Okay. A lot of people, when they hear the term get rich quick, they think scam. I want to tell you something. The only scam, ladies and gentlemen, is someone having you to believe that you should get rich slow or not get rich at all. That's the real scam, right? So you want to begin to reprogram your mind that getting rich quick is not a bad thing, right? So if I said I had a way for you to get rich quick, your question should not be, are we getting rich quick? You should hope so. Why? None of us have enough time to get rich slow. We're not going to be here long enough to get rich slow, right? We don't have 200, 300 years. We only have one lifetime, and it is extremely important to learn how to create wealth, create abundance faster. Why? Let me explain. I'm not just saying this. It is important not just to make money, but it's important how fast you make the money. Let me prove it to you. $1 million, if I asked you, is that a lot of money? What would you say? Right? You don't have to answer me in the chat box, but if I said, yo, you got $1 million, is that a lot of money? Yes or no? Right? Some of you are saying, yeah, of course, $1 million is a lot of money. Well, let me ask you something. What if it took you 40 years to make that $1 million? Okay. What if it took you 60 years to make that $1 million? Then you'd probably say it wasn't so much money. Okay, so wealth, write it down, is measured more in time than it is money. So it's not about just making money, it's about making money in the allotted time that gives you time freedom, that gives you your life back, that allows you to live in abundance sooner than later. So wealth is measured more in time than it is money. And so when you talk about compressing time frames, you want to begin to fix your mind on how can I not just make money, but make money faster, right? Can I tell you something? I think it was a book called Speed Wealth by T. Harv Eker. He said, if you can't make $1 million on what you're doing, if you can't get to $1 million a year in 2 to 5 years, then you're doing it the wrong way, or you're not involved in the right vehicle. This completely shifted my perspective forever. Because when I heard that, I said, wait a minute. So that means that I can't have $1 million dreams in a minimum wage vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. I knew that I had to find something that was going to allow me to be able to make money faster, something that had the potential that if I worked hard, that if I did what I was supposed to do, that if I did my part, that I could actually get to where I wanted to go. Okay, so I want you to think about what it is that you want to accomplish, what you want to achieve, and ask yourself, is the vehicle that I'm involved in actually allowing me to do that? Not only am I in the right vehicle, but am I giving enough time to the right vehicle? Because when I understood that, I said, wait a minute, why would I spend more time on something that is there to pay my bills than something that is there to give me my freedom? Does that make sense? Type of AOTK. Why would I spend more time on something that is going to keep me trapped forever, where I'm going nowhere fast? Why would I put more time into that than I put time into the vehicle that's taking me to abundance, to surplus, to financial freedom? Okay, so compressing time frames is how you can actually create abundance faster, right? How you can create success now. Okay, find a way where you can do more in a less amount of time, right? And so moving forward, I want to give you guys a couple examples that I'm going to get to in a second, but let's talk about normality. So y'all just think about this. When you talk about what's normal, let me tell you that what's normal to you may not be normal to someone else, right? So if you are used to making minimum wage, if you're used to making $1,000 a month, that might be normal to you. That's not normal to someone else. So you want to begin to step outside of the thinking that, yeah, it's normal for me to be at this level of income, or it's normal to be at this level of leadership. The only thing normal is what is your perception, right? Your perception is what's allowing you to understand what's normal and what's not. So in other words, if someone else is making $10,000 a month, you can make $10,000 a month. If someone else is making $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month, that can be normal to you too. The same way someone else is making $1 million a month, or $1 million a week, or $1 million a day. You don't have to keep yourself trapped in the mental box that that's not normal. There's nothing saying that that's not normal, right? So if you want to accomplish that, you can. You have enough access to become rich, to become wealthy, to become successful. You just don't have enough awareness yet. Write that down. You have enough access to be rich. You just don't have enough awareness yet to be rich. So it's not that you don't have the tools. It's not that you don't have the resources. I hear that so often. I don't have, what I need to become successful, or I didn't have the same situation that he did. I didn't have the same situation that she did. I didn't have the same resources. I didn't come from the same family. I didn't grow up in the same town. If I had a penny for every time someone told me, oh, everyone in my, town is closed-minded, or everyone where I come from, no one wants to listen to me, or my family and friends, because I did this and that in the past, they won't listen to me about this business or about this vision that I have. None of that stuff matters, right? Where you come from, who you were, your past, none of that matters or is relevant to where it is that you're going. If you look at a car, the windshield is much bigger than the rear view mirror for a reason. Why? Because where you're going is more important than where you've been. So what's normal is what you choose to be normal. What's regular is what you choose to be regular. So that's what I began to do when I was dream chasing, and still am. But this is what I was doing in the beginning when I was really like, I had to really work on my mind. I had to shift my identity. I had to change the way I saw myself, change the way I saw the world, change the way I saw other people. I would use affirmations. Okay. I would use, again, things that I would repeatedly suggest to myself through pictures, through images, through words. I would do it again and again and again. So what I want you to do, leaving this call, is begin to change what's normal. And as you change how you see you, the world will change how they see you. Right? So for example, if you have someone who's, I'll give you an example. Some people will offer a product, they'll offer a service, and they'll say, well, no one would pay this price for my product or service. And you got to ask yourself the question, would they pay someone else the price for that product or service? The answer is probably yes. They just won't pay you. They'll pay $100. They'll pay $500. They'll pay $1,000, $10,000 for the same product or service, but will they pay you? Right? And if the answer is no, then again, that has to do with, again, your self-identity, the way you see yourself. That is one of the biggest things that you got to change first. Becoming successful really won't be the hardest thing you do. Believing that you can become successful, that'll probably be the hardest thing that you do. Okay? And I say this to you, no matter who's watching this, no matter what your income level is, no matter what your leadership level is, no matter what your experience has been, you have to begin to shift what's normal to you. And as you shift what's normal to you, guess what? You're going to begin to shift what happens in your life. Next is perception. So different classes of people have a different perception. Let me give you an example. Poor people. What's the perception that poor people have? Pay bills. That's the only thing poor people are concerned with. How can I pay my bills? How can I get just enough? How can I get just enough to get by? How can I barely make it and be comfortable, quote unquote? Not even comfortable, really, at poor. Okay, but that's how poor people see money. Right? So the next level would be middle class. Middle class people, oh, I just want to maintain good credit. Right? I want to be able to pay everything off on time. And then rich people are thinking, as soon as I get some money, how can I send it back out? How can I put it to use? How can I get my money to grow legs and start working hard for me? How can I put a suit on my money and make my money go out there and work for me? How can I send my money out and have it to come back with friends? That's the mentality of a rich person. You got to begin to shift your mentality. Rich people are not afraid to invest in their self, in their business. You know, that was a hard concept for me in the beginning. I said, why would I spend money on this event? Right? Why would I spend my last dime, on a book, on an audio, on a plane ticket to get somewhere where they say that there's an event? Guys, you want to always, don't be stingy with investing in yourself, and pay yourself first, your bills second. Right? Pay yourself first. Invest in your personal growth. Invest in your learning. Invest in the stretching of your mind, the growing of your mind. If there's ever an opportunity for you to grow, okay, if there's ever an opportunity for you to grow from someone that has what it is that you want, take that opportunity. Don't be the person that says, oh no, I'll invest when I got it, right? And obviously use wisdom. But don't be the person that's stingy with your own personal development. Guys, for me, there were times I had absolutely nothing left, but because I decided to put myself in an environment, guys, I remember being down to my last dollar. And I had a mentor, and the mentor says, hey, I want to put you in an environment to grow. Come around. I'm going to show you some things. You can listen to me, shadow me, whatever the deal was. He lived across, like he was probably about 30, 45 minutes from me, something like that. I didn't have a car at the time, right? I didn't have a car at the time. So I don't know how I was going to get to this mentor. But the last thing I wanted to tell the mentor was, oh, I can't make it, or oh, I can't go. And back at that time, I had absolutely nothing. I'm talking, I probably had less than $100 in my bank account. I didn't have a lot of money at all. But you know what I did? I took the Lyft. I took the Uber. I didn't even know how I was going to get back. I just wanted to get there. Why? Because I wanted to get in the environment of I wanted to take the money that I did have and sow it and invest it, right? So that it would come back. That's the difference between somebody with a rich mentality and somebody with a poor middle class mentality. Poor, pay bills. Middle class, maintain good credit. Rich, I want to use my money immediately to start making more money. Does this make sense? Type of AOTK in the chat. Okay, does this make sense? Type of AOTK in the chat. Next, I don't know if I showed that to you guys. I'll show it to you. You can see it. So that's perception. Now, the next thing that I want to get into, Scripture. You guys know every single Saturday, man, we get into Word. Those are guys that don't know. For me, as an entrepreneur, I remember things always changing. Follow me here. I'm gonna take you somewhere with this. As an entrepreneur, I remember things always changing. Right? I remember in my career that companies would change. I remember in my career that products and services would change. I remember in my career that my team would change. Who my leaders were, that would change. I remember that my financial situation would change. But the one thing that never, ever changed was God. Follow me here. I noticed that mentors and coaches and, philosophies and systems, they all kept changing. And so I said, what is it that I can grab onto that never changes? Because we know in life, the only constant thing is change, but I knew that God would never change. So I wasn't looking for a guru and what a guru had to say anymore. I wasn't looking for, what the next, this guy or that guy was saying. I just wanted to know what God said. And you guys can see in Proverbs 13 and 22, it says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So for me, that gets me fired up. That gives me the motivation and the inspiration and the knowledge and the wisdom to know and say, okay, well, I need to create an inheritance. How many of you guys want to actually be remembered after you're gone? Type of AOTK in the chat. How many guys want your grandkids maybe to have a portrait of you on the wall? I remember talking to a leader the other day, and he says, man, I was asking him, I said, hey, man, why are you doing what it is that you're doing? What inspires you? What drives you? What is a life of success to you? What's your aim? What's your goal? What's your motive? And he tells me, he says, well, I want to leave a legacy. I want to be remembered. I want to be that grandfather that after I'm passed away, after I'm long gone, they tell stories about me. They have a picture framed to me on the wall. How many of you guys want to fit in that same category? Type in AOTK in the chat. See, many of you, what if I ask you, who is your great-great-grandfather? Who is your great-great-grandmother? Do you know their name? Do you know anything about them, those people? Do you know what they did? And if not, you could ask yourself why that is. Right? You could ask yourself why that is. I know for me, I wanted to change. I decided this early. I wrote it down. I wanted to change the stars in my family tree forever. I wanted to change my lineage forever. Why? Because a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Okay. Right. So that gets me fired up. That's word for you, by the way. Okay. Now, competition. Let's talk about it. I want you guys to listen to me when I say this. So how many of you guys are competitive? I know that I'm very, very competitive. And by the way, I know some of you guys don't know, some of you guys are like, what is he saying? To type in the chat, AOTK, it stands for Ambassadors of the Kingdom, right? AOTK stands for Ambassadors of the Kingdom. Guys, I'm very competitive, but how many guys know that there's a such thing as toxic competitiveness, toxic, the point where you're actually competing and you're comparing yourself constantly to other people to where you always think somebody else is better than you. How many guys have caught yourself comparing and you're looking at someone else's Instagram, you're looking at someone else's social media, and you're like, man, I feel like they're always winning, right? And you start to get down on yourself. Some of us do it subconsciously. We don't even realize. I've had friends, they've said, you know what, man, I had to get off social media. It was just too toxic, right? How many guys have ever been in that place or you know somebody in that place? Why? Because everybody's, putting up a front and everybody's showing their highlight reel and you don't know about the behind the scenes. Guys, when it comes to competition, let me tell you something. Allow other people's stories, allow other people's success to inspire you, but never allow it to get you down. Never allow it to make you feel less than. Never allow it to make you feel that, you're not accomplishing what you need to be accomplishing. Why? Because you don't know what they did behind closed doors. In the seed season, right, never looks like the harvest. The seed never looks like the harvest. So you don't know what they were doing in the off season. You don't know what they were doing last year and the year before that. You don't know what they were doing in the dark because you're rewarded and promoted in the light for what you did in the dark. So when you see someone winning, be inspired by that, but don't compare your chapter 2 to their chapter 7. Right? So no one is actually better than you. People are different than you. They may be even further along than you, but no one is better than you. And let me tell you why this is so important to know. Guys, one of the hardest things I had to do was, again, I keep going back to it, but I had to change what was normal. I had to change my self-image. I had to change the way I picture myself. And can I tell you that the reason why you may not be able to attract the kind of people that you want to attract, the reason why you may not be leading the group that you want to lead, the reason why people don't hear you the way that you want to be heard is because of how you see yourself. When I changed the way I saw myself, can I tell you that nothing else really mattered anymore? It didn't matter as much what I had accomplished. It didn't matter as much what I had achieved. It didn't matter where I came from. It didn't matter the person that I was last year. It no longer mattered the person that I was in high school. It didn't matter what these people knew about me from my past. Why? Because I showed up as a new person. And that's my wish for you. Right? So if that person, if you haven't attracted the life that you want to attract, you just don't have the awareness for it yet. You don't see yourself the right way. Sometimes, I worked with people and, maybe we want to make a big sale. Maybe we want to, attract a certain kind of an individual into our network. Maybe we want someone to buy from us. And can I tell you something that you might want to write down? It's not always what you're saying. Sometimes it's what you're not saying. I can't always give you a one-liner. I can't always give you a script. There's not always a step-by-step and a play-by-play to be able to attract a certain kind of life or, recruit a certain type of talent or make a certain type of sale. It's not always a word track. It's not always, saying the fanciest thing. It's how you see yourself. So I can tell you everything what to say. You can read whatever sales book you want. You can go out there and listen to these gurus, whatever. But if you don't see yourself the right way, you're never going to you can't kick that door down. I'm telling you, that is the honest truth. Before it shows up in your experience, follow me, it must first show up in your expectation. I'm gonna say it again. Before it shows up in your experience, it first has to show up in your expectation. So inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. You get on the phone, you're trying to make a sale, you're trying to go out there and build a business, whatever. What do you expect? Because I guarantee you, you're not going to expect failure in your mind and somehow achieve success. That's not going to work long term. You have to expect it. Okay? Can I tell you that when you're comfortable in your own skin, you'll be comfortable in the presence of anyone. And I love that. And I want that for every single one of you. When you're comfortable in your own skin, you will now be comfortable in the presence of anyone. right? But you got to be comfortable in your own skin first. Okay? We're talking about competition, right? So lack and scarcity, they can't even exist in your experience, again, unless they first exist in your expectation. Lack and scarcity are not, it's a trick of the mind. Abundance was God's intention for us. Okay. And again, we're talking about keys to creating success now. Who's following along with me? Type of AOTK in the chat. Be here about 10 more minutes. We're going to wrap this thing up. Be here about 10 more minutes and we're going to wrap this thing up. Okay. The first temptation in the world was the temptation to focus on lack. Adam and Eve were in the garden. Genesis 2:16 says, and the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, right? Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. So let me explain. Every and freely are abundance words. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. Every and freely are abundance words, right? So what does that mean? That means God's intention for us was abundance, not scarce, not lack, not scarcity, not lack. Right? Follow me here. Here's what happened. Adam and Eve had everything, but the enemy deceived them into thinking about the one thing that they lacked. So they had access to every tree, but one tree. And the trick of the enemy was to get them to focus not on all of the abundance that they had, but the temptation to focus on the one thing that they didn't have. And because they focused on the one thing that they didn't have, they lost everything that they did have. You know, guys, in the business that I build, in the community that I build, gratitude is a priority each and every single day. Right? I remember it was a particular life event actually that happened to me years ago that caused for me to start being grateful every single day. So what I'm telling you is that no matter what it is that you're going through, no matter what it is that is happening in your life, start every single day with gratitude, because you never know what day can be your last. You never know if you're going to even see tomorrow. How many guys are grateful just that you made the wake up list? Type in AOTK in the chat, right? You already opened 2 gifts today. Those were your eyes. Understand that if you can even, guys, if you're mobile, if you have activity in your limbs, if you have a roof over your head, if you have food to eat and water to drink, if you're healthy, your family's healthy, guys, these are all blessings. Hundreds of blessings every single day. Why? Because they can be taken away at any time. They're not guaranteed. Follow me. The first temptation to man was the temptation to focus on lack, focus on scarcity. That is how you destroy all of your abundance. Right? But gratitude, ladies and gentlemen, is the accelerator. Gratitude. In order to attract more into your life, you got to be grateful for what you already got. How you expect God to bless you with more, but you're not even grateful for everything that you already have? Right? How do you expect to be faithful over the many if you can't even be faithful over a few? Right? So every single day, be grateful. Next, law of first mention. So I'm going to explain something to you guys that's important. So the law of first mention, what is this really about? Well, because God is unchanging, when he says something the first time, that is what it means forever. The meaning doesn't change. The meaning doesn't shift. The meaning doesn't all of a sudden mean something in 2020, then now it means something different in 2023. The law of first mention simply means that the first time God mentions something, that is the meaning for that thing. It does not change. And I want to point out 4 times in the book of Genesis where God mentioned gold. What is the significance of gold biblically? It is the sign of wealth, right? So let me explain to you. The first thing I want to show you guys is providence. And you guys can take notes or write this down. I'm going to show it to you. Okay, providence. So what is providence, by the way? You guys can write this down. What is providence? Okay. So all providence is to provide an advance. Genesis 2:11 through 12. The name of the first is Pishon. It is one which, and Pishon is just a river in the Garden of Eden. It is the one which skirts the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Follow me. What does that mean? It says the gold in the land was good. So why am I taking the time to explain this to you? It's not just so you can hear me talk. The purpose is so that you know and understand that God's intention for you is wealth. Some of us have asked the question, well, does it even make sense for me to be wealthy? Is wealth a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How many guys don't mind wealth? How many guys want to be wealthy? I don't know, man. I'm trying to check the temperature on the call. Y'all just let me know. Type of ALTK, type yes, type something. How many guys actually see yourself being wealthy? You tell me. I know for me, I know which side of the token I want to be on. But what about you? Do you see wealth in your future? Do you see abundance in your future? Let me read that again. Genesis 2:11 through 12. The name of the first is Pishon. It is the one which skirts the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. So watch this. God didn't just put it there. He didn't just put the gold in the land. He didn't just put the gold in the land, but he told us that it was good. So he wants us to understand that abundance, follow me. He wants us to understand that abundance are natural in the environment of the kingdom. You should be abundant. You should be living in surplus. You should have more than enough. It's not normal to live in lack. Something's wrong, right? And again, follow me. What's the whole purpose of this? This call, the message that we send, well, if you practice God's principles, you can participate in his promises. Lack, scarcity, means that a principle was ignored. Providence, so it's to provide an advance. That's number one. Number two is possession. Right, now I'll let you guys see it. Okay, number two is possession. First is providence. Number two is possession. Okay, so Genesis 13:2. And Abram was very rich in cattle, silver, and gold. Right? Genesis 13:2. And Abram was very rich in cattle, and silver, and in gold. Follow me. What's the purpose? God didn't just tell us that he was rich, but rather how rich he was. How many guys want to be rich, rich? Type rich, rich in the chat. I know me, man. I want to be rich, rich, not just rich. And I love that this was specifically put there, because otherwise we would say, oh, rich, he was rich in, he was rich in happiness, right? Or we would make up something else to say. No, it says he was rich in cattle, silver, and in gold. Okay. Rich, rich. That's what I'm talking about. The dazzling diva. I see you on with me. Come on. Okay. Proof is next. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean by proof. Okay. So when we talk about proof, there's in the Bible where Isaac, right? Isaac, he was looking for a wife. And Isaac had a servant, Eleazar, who was actually on the lookout for this wife for Isaac. Follow me. Abraham's servant asked God that the girl meant to marry Isaac would offer water to his camels without being prompted, right? That was the ask. The ask was, God, whoever this person that Isaac is supposed to marry is, whoever the woman is, let her ask and offer water to his camels without being asked, without being prompted. That's how he was going to know that this woman was the one meant to marry Isaac. Genesis 24:20 says, so she quickly emptied her jar into the trough. Okay. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the well to draw more water, and drew enough for all his camels. Cool. So he knows this is the girl that's supposed to marry Isaac. This woman is supposed to marry Isaac. Look what happens later. Genesis 24:53. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and mother precious things. What did you just see? What did we just see? That I like to see this stuff because it shows God's true intention, which is for us to be wealthy, right? That's normal. You're supposed to live in abundance. You're supposed to live in surplus. This was a gift. Wealth is proof of God's blessing on God's people, right? Moving forward, okay? Provision, and this is the last one, right? This is the last one, provision. And I'm going to show it to you guys here. And this last one is about Joseph. Jordy, what's up, my brother? John Harris, what's up, my brother? Okay, so Genesis 41, verse 41 through 43. So Pharaoh commissioned Joseph, I'm putting you in charge of the entire country of Egypt. Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his finger and slipped it on Joseph's hand. He outfitted him in the robes of the best linen and put a gold chain around his neck. See, they was wearing gold chains back then, okay? But provision, ladies and gentlemen, God provided in the sense that, so again, guys, the reason why that gets me so fired up, I hope you understand the purpose. I hope somebody's locked in with me and understanding God's intention for us is to live in surplus, is to leave an inheritance for our children's children, is to actually win big, is to live a life of abundance. And if you know that, that should get you fired up. Why? Because that now tells you that there are certain principles, there are certain patterns, there are certain precepts that you can follow to create that for your life. Okay, so in closing, what is God's intention for us? Okay, in closing, what is God's intention for us? Once again, abundance. Okay, once again, surplus. Wealth is a blessing to us from God. And the last but not least, how many guys want to actually help some people? Yes or yes, type the answer in the chat box. How many guys want to help some people? How many guys got some goals that are going to require some resources? How many of you can think about maybe a family member that you want to help? Maybe mom that you want to retire, maybe dad that you want to get a new car, maybe, you know, this portion of your family, you want to buy someone a new house, right? Maybe you want to be able to give away 1 million Bibles in Africa. Maybe there's a cause that you want to donate to, a nonprofit organization, a charity. Maybe you want to be able to bless yourself and live comfortably and be able to travel and impact people in different parts of the world. You want to experience different cultures. You want to leave your mark on different parts of the world. How many guys have big goals and a big vision? Okay, follow me here to recap. Keys to creating success now. Why do you need to create success now? In the beginning, we talked about compressing time frames. Why? Because we don't have enough time, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have 2-3 lifetimes to be able to go out there and get this thing done. We don't get a second chance. How many of y'all on your last birthday, you felt like, man, I'm getting a little bit older? I know for me, I'm like, my goodness, man, I just turned 25 in December. I'm like, man, I'm halfway to 30, right? I only get like 4 quarters if I'm blessed. And so if we only get one life, if we only get one chance, if we only get one shot, well, we might as well do it right. And again, wealth is measured more in time than it is money. $1 million is not a lot of money. Now, $1 million in a year, that's a lot of money. And even that is still relative. But if I told you $1 million over 40 years, the point is you would say, no, that's not a lot of money. So change the way you think when someone says, get rich quick. Right? Someone gives you an opportunity to get rich quick. You might want to look deeper at that. We ain't got enough time to get rich slow. Okay. That being said, if that makes sense, if you guys got some value, man, type of AOTK in the chat. Y'all know we are here every single Saturday for the most part. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with you guys this morning. We do have a Discord server. If you want the Zoom link, I know some of y'all be watching on social media. Some of you guys catch the replays on YouTube. We do have a Discord link. It's in the bio on the Instagram page. You can get it from the link tree. Outside of that, man, I will see you guys next Saturday. Y'all know I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.